coterminal angles. Today we learn about reference angles and coterminal angles. A reference angle is the acute angle. Acute angle. You want to flip in your notes to this section. Acute angle formed between the x-axis and the terminal side of the angle. The acute angle formed between the x-axis and the terminal side of the angle. So what's an acute angle? Yep, an angle that's less than 90 degrees. Between 0 and 90. All good? Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of a reference angle. Trey, how many degrees would you say that angle is right there? Give me an example. What do you think that rotation is? What's that? 210 degrees is the rotation of that angle, he says. So the reference angle is the angle formed by the x-axis, not the y-axis, always to the x-axis, and the terminal side. So that amount right there. Can anybody tell me what that amount would be? 30 degrees. You have 180 degrees and 210. Subtract them, you get 30 degrees. The reference angle is extremely important to come up with. It comes up all the time in trigonometry. Let's do a couple examples of reference angles to give you a chance to practice your assignment. We'll get to the coterminal one later on. Don't worry about that. Determine the reference angles for following angles. Theta is 150 degrees. So if I sketch this angle, which quadrant does this place me in? Second quadrant. About like that? So this is 150 degrees. What I'm wondering is the angle formed right here between the x-axis and the terminal side. It is 30 degrees. $20, we're always going to say it's positive. Okay. My good friend Marissa says that she knows the next one is 20, and she's right. Negative 380, that would place you, if I draw my angle correctly, I go in the opposite direction to right about there. This is negative 360. This is negative 380. What is the angle formed between those two? 20 degrees. If the answer is in radians, or if the problem's in radians, your answer should be in radians. So notice the next one, negative 5 pi over 4. Pi over 4 was how many degrees? Pi over 4 was how many degrees? 45. So remember with pi over 4, we were just looking at kind of those kind of angles, right? Bunch of 45s. So let's see where negative 5 pi over 4 puts us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Luke, you were right. Negative 225 degrees. Okay. So that's where my angle is right there. Okay. That's my rotation. Anybody want to guess what the angle measurement is right there? 45 degrees. So in radians, that would be pi over 4. Okay? I'll show you another way to think about it. What's the radian measurement right here? Pi. Isn't that the same as 4 pi over 4? Notice how I made it common denominators? Can everybody see that the difference between 5 pi over 4 and 4 pi over 4 is just going to be pi over 4? Yeah, pretty easy to see. Turn to your worksheet. Okay, we're going to have 2 shorter lessons today. I'm going to give a little bit of time to practice on this. Just within your assignment, you should see this reference angles. Okay, so just to summarize, there's a total of 4 possible angles. Just to be clear, you're always looking for the angle between the x-axis and the terminal side. These are the 4 different angles that you'll always end up focusing on finding. Always between the x-axis and the terminal side. So let's do 2 together. If it was 215 degrees, which quadrant is that in? 3rd quadrant. So you're going to draw an angle in the 3rd quadrant. Can somebody tell me what they would do to calculate the reference angle? Yeah, this is 180, and this is 215. So how many degrees past 180 have I gone? So that reference angle is 35 degrees. Sir, oh, just stretching? Thought you were giving me a shout out. Like, yo, what up, guys? All right, 0 radians, pi radians, and 2 pi radians. Instead of pi, what else could I write? 3 pi over 3. Instead of 2 pi, I could write 6 pi over 3. Notice how I've created a common denominator? So 5 pi over 3 would place me in which quadrant? The 4th quadrant. 4th quadrant. Anybody want to guess the angle formed between 5 pi over 3 and 6 pi over 3? Pi over 3. Now, if you wanted to do the conversion, go ahead. Some of you are like, well, I know that 5 pi over 3 is 300 degrees, and I know 6 pi over 3 is 360 degrees. So I'm going to say that it is a 60-degree angle, otherwise known as pi over 3. That's fine, too. Okay. So go ahead. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes. These go pretty quick. Start computing the reference angles right here. And your assignment or your answer key is posted online. I'm going to cover. Okay, please head back to your notes. And we look over the right side, coterminal angles. Coterminal angles are angles whose terminal sides are in the same position. So, for example, anybody give me an angle like that? Give me a measure. What does that look like approximately? 100? Okay. Well, 100 degrees. Here's an angle that is coterminal with 100 degrees. If I rotated the other way, I could end up at the same spot, right? How many degrees would you rotate in the opposite direction to get to that same location? Negative 260? Yep. And then I'll do one more. There's an infinite number of results here, but suppose I followed this green path and then I went around once more. (360 plus 100, right? So 460 degrees. So it turns out that coterminal angles, you take theta and either add or subtract 360 degrees to it. And that'll produce coterminal angles. And you can subtract any multiple of 360 degrees. So you could go around once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, so on and so forth. So the first thing I'd like you to be able to do is, given an angle, determine what angle is coterminal with it. So 450 degrees, 450 degrees. If I draw an angle of 450 degrees, I have 90, I have 180, 270, 360, and if I continue on, I would have, everybody agree I would have 450 up top there? So a 450 degree angle looks like this. It's just you go around more than once. So a 450 is coterminal with 90 degrees. Now, it's good to think of it visually. You can also produce that by simply subtracting 450 minus 90. That does produce for you 360 degrees. Is that okay? How about negative 800? Well, what's once around the circle? What's twice around the circle? 720. See how that helps me? So I'm going to go a little bit more than twice around the circle in the opposite direction. So this would be once around the circle. That's negative 360. Then it'll be negative 720. And how much further do I go? What? 80 more. Okay. So if you went 80 more, okay, what's this angle going to be then? What's it coterminal with? So that's 270, right? And then how many more would this be? 280? Yep. So this is 270 degrees right there, right? And if we turned 80 past here, that means you would have 10 more degrees right there, right? So 270 plus 10 is 280. And in the end, folks, watch what happens. If you take negative 800 and you add 360 to it, just watch what happens if you add multiples of 360. I take negative 800 and I add 360 and I add 360 and I add 360 until you finally get a number that is between 0 and 360. Okay? But you could also think it graphically. 19 pi over 4. If I see pi over 4, what do you think of? 45 degrees. So I have 19 of those. So I'm going to count off 19 of them. 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Places me right there. What's that angle? 135 degrees, which in radians is 3 pi over 4. Okay, so flip to that next spot in your homework. Let's do a couple problems together. Make sure you're set to go there. We're going to do problems number 1 and 6 together in your assignment. Make sure that you're good to go. It says find 2 coterminal angles for the following. Find one that's positive and one more that's negative. So I'm going to draw 3 examples here. And I'm going to start by drawing 100 degrees. I would like to find another angle that is coterminal with 100 degrees. So just go around once more. So I just take 100, and what do I do to 100? I add 360 degrees. and I get 460 degrees. I would like to find a negative coterminal angle. So I'm going to be in the same position, just go the opposite direction. And that would be 100 minus 360, which is negative 260 degrees. Number 6, 5 pi over 4. We'll end it with this today for our lesson. 5 pi over 4. Anybody give me a measurement there? Okay. Well, this is pi, right? Or I could write it as 4 pi over 4, which would make this 8 pi over 4. And this would be 6 pi over 4. So which quadrant does 5 pi over 4 place me in? 3, third quadrant, 225 degrees. So I'll draw that angle. So I would like that same location. If I want to find a positive one, I'm going to have to go around another 360 degrees, right? So if you go around at 360 degrees, but we're working in radians, I'm not going to add 360. What are you going to add? In radians, what's 360? 2 pi? Almost done, folks. So if we're going to add 360, we add 8 pi over 4 to get 13 pi over 4. And if you did the negative one, instead of doing 5 pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4, you would do 5 pi over 4 minus 8 pi over 4. And if you did that, you would get negative 3 pi over 4. So 8 pi over 4 is the same as 2 pi. So the previous example, we added or subtracted 360. And 2 pi is the same as 360 degrees. Okay?